Hello, book nerds. Welcome back to In Between the Lines. My name is Noah. Hello. It is the end of July. The end of Don't Die July that I'll be doing with Ben from Ven's Book Corner with the links down below. We're just going to dive straight into this then. We are doing How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Now, this only came out in hardback. The paperbacks, it's probably released around about now. I'm not 100% sure. But this, it's not that it's a lot of pages, but it was a behemoth to get through. But I'm going to give you a bit of information about the book. So, How to Sell a Haunted House, written by Grady Hendrix, was published January 2023. Roughly 400 pages and is a paranormal horror. So, the story. We follow Louise, the main woman, who basically gets a call from her estranged little brother known as Mark, basically saying mum and dad are dead, and it's kind of sudden. It's not something you expect, and definitely not something that she expected. So what she has to do is she has a little girl named Poppy. She leaves Poppy with her ex, which is Poppy's dad, and basically travels down to really make sure that that's actually what happened. She then quickly realizes that is something that happened, and she has to sort out the funeral, the will, the arguments with Mark, because they do not get along at all. It's kind of the way that they are with each other is very brutal. But the only thing is when they eventually get to mum and dad's house is well, not only is this all traumatic and emotional for Louise and Mark, they start to remember certain things from their childhood, and that maybe it wasn't all figments of their imagination or pretend at all, and things just, as I always say, go downhill from there. So we're going to do what we normally do, is we're going to talk about the characters, story/plot, world building, rereadability, and fun factor, and then go into my review of it. So characters, I'm not going to do all the characters because there's, you still got parts of the family that still come in and interact with the main people, which is Louise and Mark mainly. But we're just going to focus on three that I think are very important. Louise, obviously the main person, the main woman, who is very down to earth, very serious, but she is very strong-willed, single mum, but at the same time, she's very much like the scapegoat to the family, which is unusual considering what Mark's like. So Mark obviously is the younger brother. At this moment in time, he's an alcoholic, not the best kind. I mean, there's no good alcoholics, but it's digression basically. But he's also the black sheep of the family. So at the same time, while he's the black sheep, he's not the scapegoat, which Louise is. So anything that happens is kind of pushed over to Louise. And while yes, he is this black sheep of the family, or the black wolf, whatever, black horse, whatever people say, he also kind of gets put on a pedestal a little bit to the mum and dad, which is obviously maybe because he is the little brother. There's a lot to basically get from this story. And then we have Poppy, which is Louise's little girl, her little child, who is roughly around 5 years old. Now, you don't get a lot of interaction with her at the beginning. You basically get what happens to the family, and then how Poppy kind of deals with learning about this traumatic thing known as a death. And then Poppy's left with the ex, and you just get little snippets of phone calls that she has with Louise, and things do not go well. Story/plot. Obviously, we have the story, which is obviously the mum and dad die. The whole relationship between Louise and Mark, which isn't good. And obviously, this whole thing about they have to deal with the will, the funeral, and sorting out the house. The story itself, I like the idea. I've never read one where not only is it about grief and haunted houses, but the fact that it's these two individuals basically having to sort the house out while dealing with all this stuff. It's like, yeah, we get ones where people go and investigate. Milo, we're having a conversation. We have stories where people have to go investigate and then get rid of the ghost or whatever it is, or the demons or spirits or whatever. But this one is literally like, yeah, you grew up in this house and now you have to deal with it. So I love the idea of that. I've not read one kind of like this. I've read a few paranormal books, but the style of this one, the story of this one, it was really nice. Now, plots. The first third of the book, I'm going to say, I struggled with, because don't read this book when you're going through mental issues, because it's very depressing. And this is why it took me so long, because it took me 4 months to read this book. But after you get past the first third of the book, which kind of like it stalls, and I guess that is trying to put on this emotions onto the reader, which you do get. I mean, it got me. It really got me where I had to close the book, and I was like, this is actually making me even more depressed, and it's very upsetting. But after you get past that one bit and you kind of delve into more the background of Louise and Mark and the house, the plot seems to pick up a lot more and flows a lot easier, which I really, really liked. And when you get past that and it starts flowing, it's beautiful, and I really enjoyed the rest of the book. World building. Now, I found this interesting because, yes, she does live in a different state, and she does have to travel back to where Mum and Dad originally were, where Mark is and the rest of the family. But the main focus is the house. Everything happens in this house. There's one little scene where she's in a hotel, but it's all about this house. And the best thing about this is, with all the descriptions, is this house basically with all these memories and childhood dreams that are still kind of like breathing through the walls of this house with everything else that is going on. As soon as they kind of walk through this door, and the way that everything's described is like a whole different world. Like, you've stepped through this portal, and it's just done so well. Like, there's like such a difference between the house and whatever's outside. It's two separate things, and it's beautiful. So I guess with world building, it actually did pretty well, because it made me view things completely as in a bizarre way. Like, yeah, this is completely different. This is a whole different place from where the outside of the house is. Re-readability, no and yes. So I want to say no, just because of that, the really depressing bit for feelings. For me, I struggled with that. Obviously, I was reading it at a very difficult time for myself, so it didn't help me. But after I got past that, I absolutely would read this again. There's some bits in it where things happen, it's described so well, and it's very fast-paced. I loved that. Re-readability, there's a sweet scene between... there's a good few scenes between Louise and Mark very, very early on, where you kind of get the gist of what their relationship is like, where they don't get along. And it's so well done, and it's such a sibling way to act with each other when you don't get along. It gave me life. So I enjoyed these moments where they were together, and the way that they acted between each other. I really enjoyed that. So rating-wise, this was actually real difficult for me to rate, just because of that little bit of like emotional like drama dump, or trauma dump, as you want to say, at the beginning. I'm gonna give this 4 stars, just kind of give it like a bit of the boost. Yes, it's written very, 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 very well. There's nothing wrong with the writing style at all. It was beautiful written to get me to feel emotion from what is going on between the characters, and for me to be touched at certain moments and aspects that happen between them when they react, and the situations they not only have been through younger, but as they are as adults. It was lovely. Like, it was absolutely fantastic. It's just the fact that it got me so emotional and depressed. It took me 4 months to read from that one bit. But like I said, as soon as I got past that bit, it was moving so well, so fast, and picked up the pace, and it was beautiful. I really enjoyed Grady Hendrix' style of writing, so I will be getting a few more books and definitely trying to read more. I have that Final Support Girl Group, I think it's called. I have that on the bookshelf behind me, which you can't see because of green screen. But absolutely loved it. Now, I know I said I'd be doing 2 more books for Don't Die July, which is The Whistling and 13 Stories. Now, don't worry, they will be done. We're just going to be pushing them over to October, because obviously it took me a little bit longer to read this book, and I kind of wish I did read it a bit faster, but unfortunately I have work at the same time. But with that being said, that is the end of Don't Die July. But do not fret, because we have another themed month, which is Amazing August Adventures, which is starting on Tuesday, the 1st of August at 6 p.m. with a very special guest that was very lovely to get in contact with me. So, just a little bit of a heads up, August Adventures is all about the choose your own adventure solo RPG game books and all of that as a whole sort of thing. So we'll be delving into that a little bit and giving some reviews on some of the books. But yes, thank you so much for watching the review. I appreciate it. If you've read any of Grady Hendrix's books, if there's anything you would recommend, please let us know. And remember, be good and make good decisions and keep on going. Cheers.
Expressions that really fit you, and so I racked my brain hoping to explain all the things that you did to me. For me, a bit to shame.